feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how cool the graphic looks, even though we kind of went overboard on it last month. It's still there. It's still awesome. We're still awesome. Joe Lossett here with Julian Knab. We're doing Legacy today. We just saw, I mean, we're only 2 rounds in, but I wouldn't be surprised if that last game was the most memorable game of the day. That was unusual.
I mean, there's probably a lot more awesome games coming up, and I wonder what people are going to bring to the table, because even today, the metagame hasn't fully shaped out. There's still a lot of things that people are experimenting on. I mean, the deck that Mark is playing there, right? That's a deck, I think it was created by, the name is True Hero, an Italian streamer, and Mark picked it up from there. And just looking at the deck list, right? 1 growth spiral. There's probably like way more tech out there and stuff to yet to be developed to make an impact on the format right now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, certainly in the format and all over the place. Our next matchup, round 3 is paired up and ready to go. When the players are ready, we can just go right in. It's going to be Jack Vinella with Esper Vial versus Shuen is best I can do with that one. 4-color mid-range.
Oh, I know that. Isn't that Lynn Chalice? I'm pretty sure. And I think Lynn Chalice was recently playing a deck called the Queen's Gambit, I think. And that had like Machisa, Queen of something.
Oh wow. That's another Monarch card. That's the Haste Monarch card, correct?
I know that's Monarch and Haste, but I don't know. I think it has a couple other, but it's
I think it's Death Touch. 3/3. If we have, I don't know if we can load up the card. It's Marchesa something, some addendum to that name. The players aren't quite ready yet, but that is going to be the matchup. So while we're waiting, let's get Julian's opinion on another league-winning deck list from the fringes of the format. So let's bring up the Curses deck.
I'm looking forward to that.
So here we have mono black Curses, and yes, if you're sitting at home watching this and you're saying this is nonsense, I don't believe them. Believe it. This 5-0 to league. So mono black Curses. Go ahead, Julian. What do you think?
Yeah. I've played this a couple of times. One of my loyal viewers, Rapper Cheap, is the one who actually came up with the list, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one who actually put out the 5-0 there. This is kind of another Stumpy list. And here, of course, one of our payoffs is going to be Khan the Great Creator. That's just like what you do when you have a tons of mana. Because Black has always lacked good Black payoff spells, right? There was Grinning Demon like an eternity ago, but nothing ever like came together. But now we have Curse of Misfortunes, and that's another one of those cards that's actually kind of hard to actually interact with, because you can't Pyroblast it, you can't Abrupticate, and once it sticks, you will quickly win the game, because there's a couple of curses out there, like Overwhelming Splendor, Cruel Reality. Like, you have basically a curse for everything you need. And unless the bug still hasn't been fixed, because there's a bug about Cruel Realities where the opponent doesn't lose the 5 life if they don't sacrifice something. Hopefully that has been fixed. So yeah, this deck, it looks weird. It looks really weird, but the Curse of Misfortunes can close out games really quickly and put you in positions where it's completely unrecoverable.
Yeah, and then we have Dark Rituals to ramp out Karn, like you're saying. We have just kind of tossed in. We have the alternate win condition of Leyline plus Helm of Obedience. And then if you happen to be playing a graveyard deck, which I don't feel like is overwhelmingly common right now in Legacy, then you're welcome to 4-man deck Leylines. Good luck. Yeah, this deck naturally has hate against a number of different things. Chalice of the Void, Trinisphere is going to disrupt a lot of combo decks, a lot of efficient decks, which, I mean, Legacy in particular, the more as you move into more powerful formats, the cards get more efficient, and Trinisphere just puts a halt to that. Main deck defense grids, there's a lot going on here, and it's kind of hard to envision how this plays out if you're a rookie to the format. But yeah, like you're saying, Curse of Misfortunes, if we can pop that up so it's put more focus on it, it's kind of the enabler of the deck where we're not gonna be able to do that, but it's like Julian was saying, it's 2 mana, it's cheap, and it tutors
It's 5 mana.
It's 5 mana, yeah, not 2 mana. Sorry, yeah, that would be a little stupid. It's 5 mana, and it tutors on your upkeep. You tutor a curse from your deck into play. So those other strong kind of unplayable limited bombs that Julian was just talking about. You just put one into play each turn, and good luck, opponent. Yeah, you're...
May I add my favorite interaction with that deck?
Yes, please.
I haven't seen it come up yet, but I'm 99% positive that if you are enchanted by Curse of Misfortunes and you play Veil of Summer, then that curse should fall off because you have protection from black, and you can't be enchanted by black permanents. And that's such a niche interaction. Yeah, I've never seen it come up, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Let's see. With Autumn's Veil, it would work. With Veil of Summer, do you get...
I'm pretty sure Veil of Summer says you get protection from black.
It might be that you get hexproof.
Or hexproof from black.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be... Actually, I don't know how it works with hexproof then.
Yeah, we'll see if Nerd Technology Master and Judge Extraordinary Max Khan can come up with an answer to that one at some point. In the meantime, hopefully we can get that match rolling. Okay, we're going in right now. All right, so Esper Vial versus 4-color Midrange. That is, in fact, an illusion. The 4-color midrange deck is not 4-0, but we'll get that corrected.
That would be quite something, 4-0 after 3 rounds.
Yeah, yeah. So, things starting off here. Somewhat unusual to see Ether Vial with no creatures in hand, but it's going to eat a force. So there, it's a strong 2-for-1 to start the game. No creatures required.
And Esper Vial is one of my favorite decks in the format in Legacy. I've played it for a while, and I think it makes for some of the very best matching. I know I say that a lot. It's just there's a lot of awesome decks out there in Legacy right now. Mm-hmm. And it teaches you very good magic. You have to play both on the stack. You have to play to the battlefield. You have to play for the long game. You have to grind out the small tactical advantages. And hopefully we're going to see a game like that because, this is a start. Charming Prince is not exactly the one-off creature you want to see when you have nothing else to support it. But we can work from here, right? We have a fetch land. We can probably get rid of a couple of these extra lands that we don't really need. And yeah, it's going to be interesting what Lynn Chalice is going to bring to the table because I've seen the deck, but I've never actually seen the deck in action. But the results really speak for themselves because I've seen this Queen Narcissa deck do quite a lot lately.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Charming Prince, yeah, right. Charming Prince, nothing to blank. No, I mean, scrying is worth something, but really it would be nice if that Charming Prince was in fact a blue card to allow that Teferi to safely land. But that is not the case. So the question then for the turn, barring a draw that decides the action, is it going to be Charming Prince and Scry plus Wasteland, or is it going to be Teferi?
I wouldn't be surprised if you just run out the Teferi there, right? Because the Charming Prince alone, the Scry, isn't really going to be what you're looking for. You're rather looking for the flicker effect, so you can get additional card advantage out of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it is Teferi onto the board. So this Force of Will is now looking pretty strong. Not that we want to pitch the Soul Herder, but we know it'll resolve. And so it is, if something scary does happen, there is an answer. And now next turn we have Wasteland plus whatever we may choose. Well, actually, maybe I spoke too soon. Wasteland maybe won't find a target as basics are being assembled. Okay.
So much for that. Okay.
All right. Another Teferi. So then what goes into the thought process there? If by letting the Teferi resolve, now the Force of Will, Jack's Force of Will is now useless. But maybe we just think we don't want to bother anyway. Obviously, that was the decision.
You know, I kind of like the thought process here is I'm the better main phase deck. And I would actually say Esper Vial might very well be, because once you get to know, okay, we both can do our thing on our turns and neither of us is a combo deck, I'm probably going to be the better late game deck. And that's what I would think feeds into that kind of decision. And I mean, we can still pressure that Teferi. Teferi is down to 1 now. We have a creature in play and we might be able to just get there, especially it makes for weird games, right? We know that they know that we know that we will be able to do anything we want to do on our turn. So if there's an option to Swords to Plowshares their creature and attack Teferi down with our Charming Prince, then we can actually go for that. And that's kind of like, I think if you're that kind of deck, you're actually happy to let the Teferi resolve and save your Force of Will for something more important later on, because you already know that you're probably going to get rid of that Teferi.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, I'm a little surprised, given that Brainstorm wasn't cast before the Charming Prince, to then be able to bottom the cards that are not desirable, as we don't want to be missing any turns of potential development here. I also now we didn't get a good look at, say, Shuen Wan's deck list as to know the value of the Swords of Plowshares, but being able to clear the path towards the Fairy seems pretty valuable.
Yeah, it's going to be really Safarian Cremation just for the land. That's not great. Like, if we really want to keep out a Fairy, we got to have the main phase Swords of Plowshares here, and it looks like we do. Okay, that was quite important.
Okay, Ether Vial is a way to play on the opponent's turn despite the Teferi, and yes! Fencer Shaper Savant, Jack Vinella, obviously is going to be taking this match down.
That's your baby, right?
Yeah. Venture and I go way back. So we'll see how this works out. I mean, it's Sorcery Speed Vencer is not not the ideal, though. But
I mean, eventually, that's part of like why the deck is so amazing. Eventually, we'll be able to put something together like Vial on 4 and Caracas, and then we can go crazy with Renza, even despite the Teferi on the other side. Snapcaster Mages has fine name here. There's lots of things in the graveyard that we care about, or at least there's one thing in the graveyard we care about, which is Swords of Plowshares. And it also would be an additional blocker if it was played main phase. So yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Another option would be just name Swords of Plowshares if that's the card that is most concerning. Okay,
true. But then we're still dealing with the blocker, right? Which is kind of like the idea. Yeah.
All right, so this Vial is going to play a big role, although it might be tough to get it up to a reasonable number before it gets reset by Teferi.
True. It's kind of a weird spot if you have to minus on a Vial that is at least on 2, because then you feel like, oh, I'm exposing my Teferi to a creature that might actually come off the Vial, but it might very well be a call you have to make. But here we are just straight up bouncing the Teferi.
Are we? We might be. Are we? Yeah, you're right. We are. Okay. I don't feel like that does a whole lot.
Yeah, so it's probably just gonna come back down and then bounce our friends.
Yeah.
We're caught in this weird loop, I guess.
So we're trading mana, and our opponent is getting a card out of the exchange. Not that there was a whole lot for the Venture to do. I don't think I would have hated bouncing a land, because we're casting the Venture so we can have a target for Soul Herder, and that makes sense. But it certainly didn't accomplish a whole lot there on the face of it, aside from, we're forcing our opponent to use mana?
Yeah, I think Jack is just sitting here and he's quite comfortable playing the waiting game, knowing that his deck will probably deliver better stuff going on. There's still the Severine's Reclamation is in the graveyard that might eventually come into play, but right now I don't really see anything that we'd be interested in getting back to the battlefield here. Okay,
so Teferi bounces. I guess the alternative there would be to have bounced the Ether Vial and reset it and then give up the Teferi, but choice is made that Teferi parity must be maintained, and I think that's certainly defendable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So if another land is drawn, then Vencer could be deployed alongside Soul Herder next turn. That would be...
Yeah, and then we kind of get ahead, right? Because then we also start bouncing the lands.
Yeah. All right, so trade time over cantrips and find some business. Force of Will, actually... Now, the option exists to get the Teferi off the board again with Vencer, and now it can be countered on the way back down.
Or we just name it with Meddling Mage, right? There's a Vial too.
Yeah. Yep, that also would work just fine. Instead, Palace Jailer is going to be the choice, and that's pretty reasonable also, as while both players are having trouble establishing a board, the 4-color midrange is putting zero pressure whatsoever, so this Monarchy looks like it might reign for a while.
Yeah, I might as well call it Queen Elizabeth.
All right, so this time Swords of Plowshares is named, and now Jack is pretty far ahead, I think we should say.
Yeah. And it's gonna get even harder for Linchellas to actually come back because of the Soul Herder. And even if we get down creatures on the main phase, which is something we have to do because of the Teferi, then Soul Herder plus Palace Jailer is just going to take it away again. And I mean, we're not even talking about Venza at that point, which is also going to. This is it's so hard in Magic to come back from a board where you're behind when you're not allowed to play anything on the opponent's turn, because the opponent is always going to work with perfect information, and they can construct the best game plan there without any things that might interfere that you have to guess, and sometimes you guess wrong. Here you can't really guess wrong. You're always working with perfect information, and that's why it's so hard to construct any kind of game plan where Linchellas would actually come back here.
Yeah, and with the Monarch, I mean, Jack doesn't have to push anything, as the game is now about the Monarchy. It's not about life totals and Planeswalkers to some degree. It's just about staying the Monarch, because the extra card draw, barring something like, I don't know, a Narset, I guess, the extra card drawing will just win the game eventually. And setting that aside, Jack is looking pretty solid anyway. If the Vial were getting up to 3 and 4, both of those numbers are pretty significant.
Yeah, I'm not 100% familiar with Linchellas' deck list there, but if we are super far behind and the best thing we can do is get 2 lands into play, it makes me feel like the game might already be over.
Yeah.
So let's see. I almost was wondering whether Queen Achisa would eventually come down, but wait, no, this is not EDH. We have to naturally draw the card.
So Hymta Turok takes down Venser and a land, leaving the Soul Herder, which was probably the most valuable of the 3 cards. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Saying Venser was not the most valuable, but believe it was. I think you could make the case that it was not, and now there is no longer even Teferi parity.
Yeah, we are basically free to do whatever we want, and we can also probably deal with almost anything at this point. Yeah, we might as well just get this one in. Yeah, we can either draw an extra card through Strix, or I guess that's what we're going to do anyway. Yeah. And then we're also drawing extra card for the Monarchy. At this point, we are guaranteed to draw like 3 cards a turn. And I think you might already wonder whether you're just gonna keep playing the game for more information, but in an open decklist format that doesn't really help you out anyway. But I mean, maybe Linchellas has a way to do it, right? Maybe there's some really sick tech in there that we haven't seen yet. So we start out by Teferi, that's a good one, but it's probably gonna be forced, yeah.
Okay, so Teferi gets forced, and then Pyroclasm, and then a haste creature to get back to
are we talking?
That's what we need to see. Let's see if the 4-color mid-range deck is up to the task.
Pyroclasm and Raging Goblin.
Well, no, yeah, that would work. There are 2 red sources. All right, that would do it. We saw Cling to Dust, and does not draw into Raging Goblin plus Pyroclasm, so that will do it for game 1. Jack Vinella not taking advantage of Venser, but Venser's team did win that game. We do have the deck list available now, so let's go ahead and bring them up. Curious about both of them, as I'm sure are the viewers at home. Say Shuen, I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. See Shuen Wan. Apologies if I am not. But what do we have to look at here? All kinds of nonsense.
It looks quite a lot like Esper Vial. Obviously, it doesn't have the Vial, but it looks like it's kind of trying to play the same endgame-ish game, but of course it has a lot more stuff like interaction on the stack and discard spells, whereas Esper Vial is really just playing a permanent base game for the most part.
Yeah, there is some removal for the Vial, and well, there's Colgan's command anyway, just a single copy in the main. Look at the board. Plague Engineers, nice. There is a Palace Jailer of an opposing Palace Jailer here. We have Null Rod. Okay, so we have some options. Let's go ahead and look at the other deck list and see if Null Rod wants to come in. Is it just Ether Vial, or are there other things to mess with?
So usually it's just Esper Vial,
Yeah.
unless you bring in some kind of equipment, which the deck doesn't really play. But the Vial is so incredibly good that I would still consider it. I think we've seen some disenchants, which we could bring in instead. I mean, they technically can also hit Barefoot Strix, or I guess the Court of Graces that we see here. I think at least the disenchants, they gotta come in, because the Vial is such a high priority target, and then you get some splash damage out of it as well.
Yeah, definitely a lot of stuff going on in this deck. If we can pop up Court of Grace for some people that might not be familiar, if you're transitioning from, okay, we're not going to be able to do that, but this is another Monarch card. Is it not, that makes flying tokens?
Yeah, if you're the Monarch, you get a 4/4 Angel. And if you're just a Peasant, I think you get a 1/1. I'm not sure if it's flying. I think the 1/1 is not flying.
Yeah. Okay, so that's something that would play a role in any matchup where I imagine where Jack Vinella thinks that board advantage will be his. Then Court of Grace would be solid.
Yeah, I see a lot of interesting cards in the sideboard that we might want to use. It's going to depend a lot on how much you actually want to side out. I could see the Force of Wills coming out, and then not too much, actually. I'm Plague Engineer, probably. But there's not too much you want to take out other than that. So I could see the Court of Graces coming in. Lavinia, maybe, I'm not sure. Gilded Drake is always nice. Gilded Drake has this insane interaction with Charm Prince, where you can just steal the creature and then flicker the Gilded Drake, and then you get back another creature.
Right. Yeah. Gilded Drake, super cool card. All right, so we have Violent Teferi again for Jack's opening hand. So that's looks promising. We did see last game the opening hand Vial got Force Oiled. And then another one was nicely drawn. Again.
Yeah, this time we don't have the Brainstorm to get rid of the access land. So if this turn 1 Vial gets forced, even if it survives, it looks like we'll not really be doing anything on the second turn, which is not great. But I mean, it is what it is. Eventually we will find a Brainstorm.
And this is not a matchup where we're going to fall dreadfully far behind by not doing something relevant on turn 2.
Yeah, this is a lot more, I want to say, chess-based, where you like struggle for position, and eventually you make your moves, and you're going to see what kind of counterplay your opponent has, and that's where the hidden information comes in there. But right now, I mean, it might not look great to draw the second Vial, but I can only emphasize again how insanely good this deck is with Vial. I've never seen a better Vial deck than this deck, and I'm almost happy to just like draw. I'm actually happy to draw the second Vial. There's many worse draws out there.
So Lynn Chalice with a couple cantrips here to set things up, sculpt the hand. Hymn to Tark would be not the greatest it could ever be right here, but certainly would get cast if it was available, I would imagine. So both players not putting too much on the board in the early game.
Yeah, so basically what we're looking for here is to get Recruit of the Guard going, because that one will eventually find Soul Herder. And I used to call it the tutor network, because at that point you get to tutor every turn, and you can find other creatures that do stuff. So you got basically your entire deck at your disposal, and you draw a random card every turn. So it's one of the best engines in Magic right now, in Legacy at least, I want to say. And that's why you should really be looking to disrupt it. And that's why I'm so happy if we can find, like even an Nylrod.
All right. So an answer to Teferi here. Okay, Red Blast it is. And now, Jack's hand is looking kind of anemic.
Yeah, we better find something, right? We like I mentioned, we either find the Recruit of the Guard, or at least a Brainstorm. Like the Brainstorm would be such a big thing.
Right. These vials continue ticking up. Now we're hitting relevant numbers, and something's coming down.
Command, probably.
This is a Colgan's command to take out the larger vial. Okay.
Like, considering how good Kolaghan's command can technically be against us, we're almost happy that we can just like trade a single Vial against that. I wonder what the Plague Engineer wants to name here. I didn't get a good look at Linchellis's list, but you probably just want to get it down because it's also going to put pressure on potential other Planeswalkers that might eventually hit the board.
Sure, and if a let's see, a bird looks like the choice here. Okay, that gets the
Barefoot Strix.
the Baleful Strix, the flying Death Touch creatures that turn into 2-mana cantrips, which is considerably worse. Yeah, certainly not game winning, but convenient.
It's going to be interesting because from the other side, this board looks somewhat threatening because nothing has really happened and the Vial keeps ticking up. So you think as soon as the Vial hits 3, you're going to be in trouble. Little do you know that as of right now, nothing's going to happen once the Vial goes up there.
So end-of-turn Brainstorm for Lynn Chalice, deciding that the velocity is more important than efficiency. And we see here, okay, that's Fairy.
Okay. Paying respects to the Vial. And I mean, now we basically need a removal, right? If you want to keep our Teferi, we need the Swords of Plowshares now. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Whenever you can land your Palace Jailer on an empty board and against a deck that's not necessarily super aggressive, this must feel really good there.
Yeah. So even if this is killed, the Plague Engineer gets swords, but Palace Jailer will reign supreme against an empty board. Is there a counter? There is not. And then now we're back to needing a removal spell and a Raging Goblin.
What's the best haste creature in Legacy, actually? Is it Ball Lightning? No, it's Icarid, probably.
Well, Queen Marchesa would work just fine about now. Let's see. There's a couple. Well, I guess the opposing Palace Jailer would be great. If Lynn Chalice has Palace Jailer, then that makes it
Palace Jailer over Palace Jailer. Let's do it. Let's go there.
Fantastic.
It just feels so bad, right? When you already know you won't be able to steal back the Monarchy on your next attack step, because at that point you already know you're giving your opponent like at least 2 extra cards, and you're starting to fall behind, even though you have Teferi in play, and technically you should be like in a really decent position. But here you really gotta plan out at least your next 2 turns. You can't just like play for board advantage because the Monarchy is such an interesting concept in Legacy that can't really be interacted with counter spells or removal spells. It always can only be passively influenced, right? If you hit the creature and then you gotta have something on top. So I'm kind of happy with how it works in Legacy because it's given these non-blue decks. I mean, this one's a blue deck, but there's also like decks like Maverick or Death in Texas. They now have like quite a reliable draw engine once you get it going against blue decks, which wasn't really a thing before.
No, I really like it for the exact reason you just said. It gives a lot of potential advantage. It gives a way for the creature decks to fight back against the spell decks on an avenue that the spell decks are not naturally equipped to deal with very well. Okay, well, Flicker Wisp is something, but it is probably just at this point it's just hoping to trade off with the Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah. I guess you're gonna flicker your own lands, and that's basically it.
Yeah, to hope if you draw a removal spell during your end step, then Jack would have more mana available. I guess Blinking Caracas would be also reasonable here.
Let's look at the extra card. Is it gonna be? It is Swords of Plowshares. Oh my god! But you gotta play it in the end step. But you can't. We can't. You can't. Oh.
Okay, so if Lynn Chalice has a removal spell here, there isn't one. Attacking. My goodness.
Oh, this must feel so good. I mean, now Lynn Chalice really needs an end of turn Snapcaster Mage to steal back the Monarchy, because if they play a creature in their main phase, it's gonna be Swords of Plowshare. Oh, this feels so good.
There can't be a Snapcaster Mage in Lynn Chalice's hand right now. There can't be much of anything. We would have seen it right there. So
true.
Yikes! What? Oh, this is going to be very tough.
If you
Already,
already kind of ruled out that they have that he has a Snapcaster Mage, then we can almost just play a naked Soul Herder. I guess that doesn't really give you anything because you get nothing. I mean, if anything, it gives you mana advantage for the next turn, so you don't have to play it.
yeah.
But again, I guess you can just sit on it.
So what is in the hand for Lynn Chalice? So if it's not removal and probably not a creature, so we're sitting on maybe counter spells or just garbage.
But I think if we had counter spells, we might have considered countering the Flicker Wisp, even though it was like a really, really low impact Flicker Wisp. But if you get to steal back the Monarchy, I mean, we might have drawn like a Force of Will for the turn. Okay, a High Breacher.
Yeah,
Just sweet.
Pretty tremendous in that it's just a. Oh, okay, two of them.
High Breacher. And suddenly the game has been turned around because now we become the Monarch and our opponent is never going to draw extra cards again.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This deck is scary.
What were we just talking about? That Jack was in control and that there was Lynn Chalice's hand must be somewhat garbage, and that couldn't have been more wrong. Now Lynn Chalice has everything.
Yeah, I wanted Lynn Chalice to have, or at least was like saying it would be really good for him if he had a Snapcaster Mage because of the Flash, right? So we can dodge the Swords to Plowshares. Yeah. Turns out we have an even better Flash creature now. We have High Breacher, and that's gonna give us the Monarchy and even like keep one of them on the board despite the Swords to Plowshares. Yeah. But I think if Jack can still get something next turn, but he really needs to get something that, but it's going to be so hard because we don't even have the Palace Jailer anymore, because that's the way that we will be able to get rid of creatures. We can Barren, bounce one of them, Soul Herder, Blink, bounce the other one.
Yeah, but that doesn't. This is so tough now because now with the Monarchy on the other side of the board, now just bouncing the creatures and stopping the attack doesn't really do very much. All right, so Swords of Plowshares on one of the Hull Breachers.
And then I guess we can run out Barren and protect it with Caracas, but I mean, I would guess the Fairy next turn is probably going to minus on the other Vial. Because if we really wanted to bounce our Barren, I guess, okay, if Teferi minuses on Barren, that wouldn't even be a thing because then we Caracas it and he doesn't get to draw an extra card.
Okay.
I guess we can also bounce the Chase. I wouldn't hate that. Chase, Teferi. That's just like what I love so much about this deck, about the Esper Vial deck. Even though we didn't really see a great start out of it, there's so many tiny micro decisions that we can make here, and eventually, you just need one card, like I mentioned earlier on, the tutors that get you back into the game together with other Vial, and that allow you to leverage all the mana that you have that way.
All right, so Lynn Chalice with lots of action here, lots of potential on both sides, like you're saying for the Esper Vial deck, but definitely has lost the advantage. And we see here an End Step Ponder enabled by Teferi Time Raveler's Plus ability.
We bounce the Vial. Now we have 5 cards in hand on Lynn Chalice's side, and I mean, make that 6 now.
Yep. And when that Vial bounces with nothing, without an activation, then so there's no. Lynn Chalice doesn't really have to play around anything here. Doesn't have to worry about much. Now we're in a spot where you're playing a deck, a deck with all kinds of creature interactions, but so far behind on the board. What is there even fear at this point?
Yeah, there's ways to do it with like Soul Herder, Barren, and other Vials and stuff, like I mentioned earlier, or even like eventually Palace Jailer. But any way you will win the game is gonna involve Soul Herder, because that's the only way to even somewhat start breaking that card advantage on the other side. Because just by drawing a card for the turn and getting like minor card advantage here and there, that's not going to be good enough against a deck that's basically drawing 3 cards a turn.
Drawing the Lock takes down the Soul Herder on the stack, and Baron has a potential to attack into Teferi Time Raveler, but doesn't bother as the Hull Breacher is a known card in hand, and we see it come back down.
Yeah, I think, it looks like Jack is already considering. No, okay. He just removed the F6.
Sphinx Reclamation brings back Snapcaster Mage. Okay, this is getting bad. I believe that targeted Kolaghan's Command.
That's going to leave us empty-handed and with a creature, basically a board of 6 lands or something, and a creature doesn't really do anything right now. Oh, we're trying to... Okay. Trying to hit this one. And then we're probably going to discard the land, yeah. Not even trying to fight over the Vial.
That's interesting. That's not what I would have instinctively assumed would be the targets for the Kolaghan's Command, but okay. It does put it in the Baron into hand and allow an attack to come through. The 3 damage doesn't really matter, but solidifying a board is nice. That is an impactful draw.
Yeah. Let's see what we're going after here. Oh yeah, won't even happen. That's just like the power of card advantage, right? Eventually you get to a point where you'll be able to throw away cards like on a 2-for-1 basis, but you're still going to be way ahead.
Mm-hmm. That was a route to getting back into the game, though. If the Skyclave Evaporation resolved and then Baron could reset it, then, take out, I don't know, with a Hull Breacher or the Jace and then another one next turn. Maybe. I mean, obviously we saw it didn't amount to much, but maybe. I mean, you never know. Sometimes Progenitus can be raced by lightning. Sometimes you can come back from insurmountable board positions. Just, it's hard. Interesting match, though, so far. Hopefully you're enjoying watching along with us. We've got Game 3 coming up in round 3 when the players are ready to go. Esper Vial versus this mid-range creature planeswalker deck. Really, what we're seeing is the Monarchy feels like it's maybe the most significant aspect of the matchup.
Yeah, this feels like, some medieval European war where like different monarchies go up against each other and then they betray each other and the monarchy changes to the other side. And then like an old wizard Baring comes in, but he's not able to influence the outcome of the thing. So I'm looking forward to like a great third game. I want to see the full power of Vial unlocked in the third game. I want to see a turn 1 Vial and I want to see it stick.
Well, yeah, I know, you're right. Yeah, this is the medieval. We need a creature with horsemanship to come out of somewhere to join all these other legends and warriors bashing each other on the field. But yeah, the Vial, I mean, we've seen Vials actually turn 1 both games and they haven't done much. It's more been a result of the draws in the Esper Vial deck just not being, the creatures haven't been flowing early enough to matter, and then the Vials have been getting reset before too much damage can happen. But hopefully we can have the players keep hands chock full of good stuff and have it entertaining. I don't know if we want to ask the players to try and be as entertaining as the Game 3 last round. That's a tough bar to clear, but these 2 decks have the potential to do it.
Should we have that? Should we have like a final vote for after the tournament's over? Who was the most entertaining player? I mean, they have that at the Soccer World Cup in the very end. They vote for the most entertaining team.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's see. Well, we've got the Vial again, and Brainstorm.
And this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, 1 land. We're keeping. I'm not surprised at that, and we did see Lynn Chalice take 1 mulligan.
That'll be the Tundra. Okay, cool. And now we need a land in the top 4 cards of our deck, and I think we can make that happen. And we already have like a lot of awesome things going on here. We got the Palace Trailer, which eventually will come down, and Palace Trailer, Soulherder, and Barefoot Strix. That's already a small engine in itself, and it's gonna be Lynn Chalice who will be hard pressed to come up with an answer to all of that. Right. But right now, we really want that extra land drop. I mean, ideally, we just... Oh, that hurts a little bit. I was going to say, we want to naturally draw it so we can get down the Barefoot Strix. But second Tundra, not casting that black mana there.
Ooh. Okay, so we're not shuffling ever, but there is, unlike the other games, there is a Aether Vial curve this time around, which means that Vial is going to account for potentially 9 mana through turn 5, which would be really
the most
impactful.
devastating card we could face here right now is Disenchant on Nilrod, because if that happens, then we spend the next couple of turns just casting Meddling Mages and Soul Herders, which really don't do anything. So it looks like, at this point, we already know that our Ether Vial is going to stick, right? Because we have perfect information. We know they have no 1 mana way to actually get rid of that Vial here.
All right, so here it builds. Okay, so the card, Jack knows the cards. Palace Jailer is on top. And you think you just...
in a weird spot here because you kind of want to name Swords to Plowshares with Meddling Mage, just so your Soul Herder combo can't be broken up. The problem is if they have a Hull Breacher and you just named Swords to Plowshares, that's really awkward. I guess in that case you can reset your Meddling Mage with the Soul Herder and then Swords to Plowshares the Hull Breacher. Actually, I wouldn't hate that. Maybe that's how we're gonna go about this. Pyroblast.
Okay, well that probably didn't play quite the way Jack was hoping. I wouldn't be surprised if the Baleful Strix came out now.
Yeah, it's definitely the safer thing to do because there's Snapcaster Mage. Cool.
Okay.
I like naming Snapcaster Mage more when I have like Planeswalkers to protect or a Monarchy, but it's not bad. It's certainly not a bad name. It's one of the more general cards you would name here.
Yeah, you can't be quite as picky when after the first Melee Mage didn't make it onto the board. And okay, so now we're drawing Palace Jailer, which isn't going to be able to be deployed quite yet.
Yeah, we are actually like in a weird spot because I think we wanted to use our Ether Vial on 2 in the upkeep to get the Baleful Strix into play, so we won't need to like not put a counter on the Ether Vial for a turn, because now we already know that the Baleful Strix is still quite far away unless we draw a fetch land or something. Yeah,
the Baleful Strix is now stuck because the Ether Vial can't go back down, so it's not. We lost our ability to cheat it in permanently. So
we would have been able to hardcast the Soul Herder here anyways. I mean, this way we of course get around about Pyroblast, but if they had Pyroblast, we were going to lose the Soul Herder anyways.
All right, so Home Breacher drops in, gets picked off by Swords of Plowshares. Pausing here, potentially relining up a Force of Will.
Thing is, we don't really care about that Hull Breacher all that much because we can still take it out with a Palace Jailer next turn. And once we have Palace Jailer Soul Herder going, it's so hard for them to ever break that up. Yeah, I would even go as far as to say is like if we can trade that Swords to Plowshares for something like a Force of Will, we're basically happy.
Yeah. But from the other side, Force of Will doesn't look too appealing right now because of the Ether Vial.
That's true as well.
But okay, so this Swords of Plowshares does go through. Melee Mage names, okay, same thing. So the exchange there still happens, so the Soul Herder gets to grow, actually by 2 counters, because the Swords of Plowshares adds a counter as well. That's something that I overlooked numerous times playing against this card. At first, is that
so sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, now Lynchalice really needs to make something happen because the Soul Herder lock is in place, and I guess we minus on. But even if we minus on the Soul Herder here, that alone is not going to be great.
Yeah, it might be the Ether Vial. No, it's the Melee Mage.
Okay. So I would think the best course of action here is to have like another Pyroblast now to take out the Soul Herder, but wouldn't you have done that on your turn anyways to play around Flicker Wisp? So I guess they wouldn't have Pyroblast here. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, all kinds of things going on right now. Ether Vial could have gone up to 4 to dump in the Palace Jailer and did not.
Oh, this is interesting. Did you just see there was a Snapcaster pitch to Force of Will?
Yeah.
So I would think they have like more Snapcaster mages if they expected it to be a thing.
Yeah, definitely. Both players made some choices in the last turn cycle that are going to have impact going forward. And we see Lynchalice develop mana base some more, and there's a Palace Jailer taking out Soul Herder. Okay, and the 2 Ether Vials cannot drop in either of the creatures at the moment. And the awkward thing somewhat about the Monarchy is, unlike classically like Faceless Butcher type cards, killing this Palace Jailer will not return the creature. However, casting Court of Grace would return the creature.
Yeah, I've seen that go wrong for like many people. Now we have 2 creatures here, and we still get to not deploy the Baleful Strix. But once we get the extra land and the Court of Grace, how many times has the Monarchy switched here now? Like one person got it, then the other one stole it. Now we stole it back.
Yeah, just in the last turn. Yeah. So, but this is now, this is gonna be tough. And without creature removal, Jack will be continually able to get back the Monarchy if somehow it was stolen by a flyer or something.
Yeah, there needs to be a Snapcaster Mage on the Soul Herder now or something. Because now we're also safe against anything like, a Flickers or something. Like, just draw a Snapcaster Mage, take the Soul Herder out, and then we probably also need to get a creature down. But it's still very, very rough there. But I think if nothing happens on this turn and we just, make a Fetchland pass or Ponder pass, the game might already be out of reach now.
Yeah, cantrips aren't good enough. We need actual action here from the 4-color mid-range deck. Some inroads into this board has to happen. If the Court of Grace is allowed to resolve, then that's also a problem that builds up over time. All of this deck really are just problems that build up over time.
So yeah, this is the fetch land, and I hope that's not gonna be everything. We only have 2 cards left in Lynn Chalice's hand, and both of them gotta be heavy hitters now. Otherwise, we're in trouble. I mean, we already are, right? Who am I kidding? Right. We're in big trouble.
Okay. There's something.
That's a start.
Yeah, Baleful Strix never had a chance. Could not get into play.
It's going to be our own Baleful. Okay, draw on the log. The engine has been taken out. There's a new engine coming up, but Jack needs to draw a land here now.
Well, that's certainly the fruits of the engine have been taken out. Another Ether Vial, okay, but still, with this Monarchy cranking away, there's.
Oh yeah, true. Like I was already like, oh okay, he needs to draw a land. Actually, he's in the driver's seat. He's drawing 2 cards a turn. Like he doesn't care.
Right.
I mean, Green Machisa would be insane here, right? Green Machisa get in. I mean, I almost wanted to name Green Machisa with Meddling Mage here now, but I mean, okay. Game has been conceded. We didn't draw a haste creature.
Yeah, that's tough. That beating the mark is just it's a lot to. Yeah, despite drawing all 4 Ether Vials, several of which were not useful. It's just they're free cards, essentially at that point. And,
it's good being the king.
Yeah. The mid-range deck was just not able to compete as on the Monarchy the way the game's played out, and that was all that decided the game.
Yeah, it's an interesting game of where one deck is more like an engine deck with the Soul Herders and even stuff like Vial and Venza, Caracas, Barry, and that kind of stuff. Whereas the other deck is a good stuff deck. It doesn't have a proper engine in that regard, but it has like lots of 2-for-1s. And usually I feel like if the engine deck gets to do its thing, it's always gonna, always quote unquote, as in Magic terms, it's always gonna come out ahead. And I think that's how it played out here. We had a really good engine going while the other deck was basically doing the good stuff for 2-for-1 trades, and it just wasn't good enough. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pop up the round 3 summary and where we're at in case you're tracking archetypes or specific players you're interested in knowing the results of. You can kind of see what's going on through 3 rounds. We see a couple of the Turbo Karn decks losing, at least on this page. Sad to see.
Mark Vogt redeeming himself, moving to 2 and 1.
So that's where we're looking at right now. We've got a couple matches finishing up in round 3, and so we're going to step away for a moment, and then we'll be back for round 4 in a couple minutes.